Henry, we're live.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Doing pretty good yourself.
Can't complain. I know that's a cliche, can't complain, but that's the first thing that came into my mind.
You ask people, how are things going? They say, not bad. My dad used to say, well, not good then, right?
We know people exactly how things are going. A lot of them tune out. They don't want to hear every single aspect of your life.
No.
I don't mind hearing that from other people because I find it interesting. And if somebody goes into complete detail about all their troubles and tribulations, I actually don't mind that. Unless they do it all the time. If it's the same person that does it all the time and it's always the same issue, then I get tired of it. But it's refreshing when, how are you doing? And they say, well, my firstborn is in jail and my daughter got pregnant and the cat is peeing all over the carpet and and they go and then they start talking about their skin condition and blah blah blah. It's like
my anal warts have been acting up.
Yes, my hemorrhoids are really bad.
TMI.
You go into detail. My wife hasn't slept with me in 9 months. Whatever. So like, okay, well, that's interesting.
Well, you enjoy that. You're a rare breed. Most people are not good listeners, and it's funny you talk about that because I was just listening to a podcast yesterday of Joe Rogan and somebody. I'll mention that in a minute, but they were talking about that listening. It's hard for most people to listen, but I don't know. You said that you actually enjoy it unless they abuse that situation.
Depends on what they're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Like it depends on the subject matter. Like some people are very they can't explain stuff, or they're very incoherent, or maybe
so. Being a good listener and being able to communicate coherently is a really good skill set to work on in one's life.
Yes. Some people will go into detail and it makes sense to them. Let's say when they're talking about a process, let's say they're talking about some manufacturing process or something that I'm totally unfamiliar of. You got to kind of have a frame of reference. They'll go off and they'll use abbreviations or acronyms, and it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What, pray tell, do you mean?
They have to tailor their conversation to whoever they're talking.
Yeah.
To try to explain so that the other person kind of knows. They've got to put themselves in other people's shoes.
I think listening, and it's not something I'm necessarily stellar at, but I think it's such a powerful skill set to work on. And
it is. I need to improve on it. I used to be a lot worse.
You're pretty good, actually.
Oh, thank you.
You're well trained.
Yeah. Well, when I'm in my early 20s and even maybe early 30s, I had, if you had a conversation with me, you probably want to punch me because I kept interrupting and I couldn't wait for you to shut up so I could put in my point of view. And
well, you were young.
Yeah.
And you're older now, much older, much wiser.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give? So what are you, 61 now?
62.
I'm 62 as well. And what advice would you give 22-year-old Henry that, I could probably give the same advice to 22-year-old Rob insofar as this conversation is concerned?
You mean as in listening?
Yeah.
I would say listen, listen twice as much as you normally would.
Right.
Maybe for every second time you want to interrupt, don't interrupt, and listen. And actually a friend of mine told me this, and when he told me this, I did not like hearing it. And
what did he say?
He says, you don't listen.
He said that to you?
Yeah, he says you don't listen, and he said that you're never interested in what other people have to say. You need to be interested in what other people have to say or what they're doing.
No, when did he tell you that? How old were you when that happened?
22, 23.
All right, so you were obviously not a good listener. If somebody to have that conversation with you is not an easy conversation to have.
Yes, yeah.
Just like when you hear somebody who's having a hard time in a relationship and they keep, it's not good for them, and you finally have that conversation with them as a friend, you say, look, enough already. Would you just get out of it? And you feel bad later, and they come back to you and they go, thank you for that. That was the best thing you ever did.
Yeah.
I don't know why I brought those two. They're not even two comparables, but
yeah.
But I think they are. Well, they are, because he told you something that is awkward and hard to say, and he might have felt bad about telling you that.
We're both drunk at the time too, so our inhibitions were, it's one of those, when you're pissed off at somebody and it comes out.
Yeah.
One of those scenarios.
Yeah.
But everything he said was true, though.
One of your best friends.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We lost touch because
he's like, Henry, you're a fucking asshole. But I fucking love you, man. But you're a shitty listener.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah. It was.
But it worked. Obviously, you remembered it.
Yes, I did.
Even though you were drunk at the time.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Things you hear that work, things in my life that I've been told, which at the time I did not like hearing it, have helped me probably the most.
Yeah.
That's
good. That's a good philosophy. Can you repeat that one more time?
Things that I was told that I didn't like hearing at the time have helped me out the most about myself.
Hard truths
about me or where I'm going. Like when people tell you what path you're going, and then they're exasperated because you're going down the wrong path, and they give you like unsolicited advice, which you probably needed to hear.
And that's the key thing. You really needed to hear it.
Yes. And my thought of giving advice is, I think, like, how do I put it? Really giving somebody, like, they need to hear this type scenario in brutal terms sometimes, because that's all you understand.
Yeah.
That should be reserved for close friends or family members or wives or husbands. Like, I don't think you do that to somebody you hardly know. That's not something you're...
Unless you're paying a counselor 150 bucks an hour.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to hear that, because that's pretty valuable.
Yeah, like if there's somebody hardly I know starts telling me about all my defects, it's like, I want to punch him. But if it's somebody close to me that knows me and it's coming out of a good place, then maybe I should sit down and listen.
Those are like gems, really.
Yes. Yeah.
They're nuggets. I'm just remembering one event in my life, if I can tell you about it.
Sure.
Somebody told me something, and I barely knew these people. They were older than me, but not by a lot. And they ran the local in the 80s. I was 27 years old or thereabouts. They ran the local home show, and where I used to exhibit my business in. And I got to know them sort of at that level. Anyway, she told me that I was a mama's boy. She just flat out came out and told me that.
Yow. That hurts.
Well, no, it didn't hurt.
No?
I was intrigued.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it's that bad a thing to be called a mama's boy. I can think of 986 much worse things to be called. But I was like, it made me think. And I was like, yeah, I kind of am. I got to stop that. So a mama's boy is like, for reference, a mama's boy would be somebody who has certain characteristics. I don't know what they were, but the way I see it nowadays, it's usually somebody who's a weaker male, a beta male, a simp, or a cuck.
I think a mama's boy is a type that wants to please their mother all the time and will do things maybe not in their own interest because they worry about what their mother will. Or I think some guys, their mother thinks that their son can do no wrong.
There's that.
I knew a guy who was, I used to work with him a long time ago. Well, we probably worked in the same place for about a year. Nice guy, but he was quite the player with the ladies.
Right.
And he had his way with the women. And his mother just doted on him. He could not do any wrong.
Right.
So he probably thought he was God's gift to women. And it kind of, so in some ways,
right,
he was, because she did everything for him and she kind of like almost worshipped him.
All right.
He's my son, he's my special boy, and he couldn't do any wrong.
Not healthy.
You're just lapping it all up and going out there and
not healthy.
Playing the field, and he was really into that. So that's another, I guess, version of a mama's boy.
It is, and you're going to stunt a kid's life. Definitely stunt a boy's life. There are many variations of mama's boys, and you look at the dark, what do you call it? The devouring mother, the dark. what's it called? The womb, the dark womb, shadow of the womb of the devouring mother when she goes really destructive, and you look at
Yeah.
probably a lot of real criminal type activities might have stemmed from that. But
Sure.
I don't know of any in that realm, but what you just described, I've seen, and it's not healthy. And I know some men that well into their 50s and 60s living in their mother's basement.
Yeah.
They just never grew up. So this guy that you knew,
Yeah.
whose mother doted all over him,
Yeah.
did he pull his life together at any point in time?
Oh, he was doing okay. He was a very smart guy.
Right.
So I suspect that he's going to be a success.
Right.
Like this was over 10 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
15. And at that time, he looked like he was in his mid-20s.
Okay. So he's in his 30s now, mid-30s.
Yeah, or even late 30s. And
you don't know where he's at, right?
no, but he was at the job. He was we worked in a clothing store, both of us were selling clothes.
Right.
And he was a very personable, very smart guy.
Handsome, had his way with the ladies.
He was average, slightly, yeah, he's pretty average. He wasn't a big stud, but he had a charm about him.
Right.
And all the female coworkers really were kind of enamored. Like
really?
He not enamored as in they're all pining for him, but they had a rapport with him that was like, he would tease them and stuff, and they would like just lap it all up. And he was really good with dealing with women. It just seemed. And I suspect he's pretty successful. I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Very intelligent guy.
You have to define success. I mean, he could be in a bad place too, if he didn't psychically grow up or mature. Because
I don't know.
When I was told I was a mama's boy back then, I was reading early books of the men's movement, like by Herb Goldberg and stuff like that, because I knew I had a hole in my soul that wanted to be filled. So I took that comment very constructively, and I said, okay.
Now, why did you say you were a mama's boy?
I have no idea.
Okay, because
he was very bold. I remember it was a bold comment to make, but it didn't hurt me or offend me.
Okay.
I was very, very open to it. I thought, all right, there's a reason she told me this. As crass as she is, she's just one of those people that just blurts stuff out,
Okay.
But I believe that it was very truthful, in spite of that. You can argue whether or not it was appropriate for her to say that. I'm glad she did, because it helped me in the end.
Okay, well, that's good.
By the way, I'm still a mama's boy.
I don't think so. You seem to be pretty. You seem to be pretty successful, and I get the feeling that you don't do what you don't. If somebody tells you to do something that you don't want to do, you won't do it. You probably.
Yeah, I'll have a discussion about it.
I see you as you're fairly independent, and you probably are very good with. You take other people into consideration. Like you probably discuss things with your wife and stuff before you make decisions. Imagine.
Yeah, so I do.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, took a while to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up isn't easy, and it depends where you start from and what your background is and all of that stuff. I mean, really, often I think back. I don't know if this is a healthy thing, but I think back to when I was younger, and not regrets, but sometimes there's like a poignant review of things that used to be, and it's like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I wish this would have been different. I don't dwell on it. It doesn't drag me down, but it's there. It's there nevertheless, and especially it's there more so when I have way too much time on my hands, which I've had for the last 4 months with the lockdown. Not being able to run my business.
Lockdown.
Every day is like Groundhog Day. So
yeah.
So we're hoping things come back to normal, and lockdowns drive me crazy. So, but anyways, on that topic.
So, we had a discussion a few days ago. You brought up the idea, are people evil in general?
Right.
People or good?
Right.
And we kind of discussed that, and maybe we should discuss that now.
Yeah. Well, the idea was some people think that people are good by nature, which I do not agree with at all.
I agree.
And we have the capacity to do evil things. And if you are the one who is on the moral high ground, thinking that you are the one with the moral veracity to make the right decisions because you're such a good people, or you think that other people will respond from that level, that's very, very naive. And so we have the capacity to do evil things depending on the circumstances. And what was the quote I read the other day? If you think strong men have the ability to do evil things, wait till you see what weak men are capable of doing.
Yeah.
So, and I also heard something else yesterday, and I thought it kind of applies to what we're talking about. And I'd like to know what your thoughts on are all this too. But I heard that what we're going through nowadays, there's a lot of fear, right? And I think fear is the most powerful and addictive of all the emotions. And we could talk about why that is, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's a very, very, very powerful emotion, and it's being fed by the McDonald's of truth, which is the mainstream media. So I call them the McDonald's of truth because I came up with this slogan or meme years ago. To me, the mainstream media is to truth what McDonald's is to nutrition, or what Tang is to fresh squeezed orange juice.
Oh my God!
You know, it's just all glitter and it's bullshit. There's nothing there, but it looks good, it smells good, and it tastes good. And most of us consume that stuff, and they feed on fear is the number one, fear and anger, but mostly fear is the number one driving emotion. So what we have as a result, what's going on nowadays, this is where I'm getting to, is that fear has been turned into virtue.
Okay, never heard of that one before.
Spoon feed you that one. Fear is turned into virtue. So really, I'm scared, but I'm going to react with my virtue.
Oh, okay.
So we see a fanaticism. You can almost say a religious fanaticism, and I'm running this right up against the cerveza, the thing that is of a virus nature. That if you talk about too much, oddly enough, you could get censored.
Cerveza, is that a fancy word for COVID?
Yeah, you said it.
COVID.
A lot of people use cerveza in order to not get canceled or censored, which is, to me, that just is mind-boggling. You can't talk about it. And I got another story to tell you about on that, and we'll talk about it later if we have time. But there's this almost religious fanaticism. You might want to call them COVIDians. And the root of it is there's fear, and it's acting out in like the Karen, she's virtuous. You do this, yes. You do that, you do that. You guys are all doing this wrong, and this is science, and this is that, and this is the way we got to be. Everybody step in line. Everybody toe the line. Everybody do what you need to do. And because I'm virtuous, I have the I have the virtuous, not stamina, but the foundation and the whatever the things that make up my virtuosity, which is, it's like a religious dogma.
Wow.
That's the way I'm seeing things evolving. So I've said enough. What do you think?
Never thought of it that way. Fear, say that again. Fear is the new virtue, or
fear is virtue. Yeah. It's evolved into virtue. It's a virtuousness. It's I wish I could remember where I read that, but in what context, but I understood the context as I described it, I think kind of summarizes it. So people get scared. I mean, okay, go back in history. You could go back to the Prohibition times. You could go back to the witch hunts. You could go back to the religious persecutions. One group of people dominated another people based on fear of that group, and they used virtue. We have, you guys are living wrong. You have the wrong beliefs. You have the wrong structure, the foundation and values. Therefore, we must punish you or kill you or exile you. Exile being another word for today's modern day cancel culture. Does that make any sense, or did I baffle you? Did I finally?
No, I just never thought of it that way. I never connected the two. To me, virtue is, well, there's, I guess, to me, virtue and fake virtue.
Yeah.
A truly virtuous person doesn't try to show everybody how virtuous they are.
That's a good one.
They're kind of like humble. They do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and they want to do the right thing. That to me is virtuous.
Well, there
It's
could
not, look at me, I'm doing the right thing. Well, that kind of cancels out the virtuousness or the humility, at least.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, if you do a good deed, don't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
And somehow it's gonna like, and that works. That actually works in a way where when I've done something which I figure is good or stellar or out of, I've gone that extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
If I shut up about it, not mention it, I kind of have this sense of self-esteem boost.
Right.
It's kind of like, it's almost like you're keeping a good secret, not a bad secret, but a good one. But it somehow boosts you up, boosts me up anyway.
So you did it for the right motives, and
yes.
you came from a good place. So what I'm saying is, that's actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's really good. I actually never thought of it that way either, because I was focusing mostly on the other side, which is when it's being used for evil or bad, or more on the dark side, when the hall monitor in the grade school who's all about power tripping, because they are the ones with the rules. I have the rules. So we have virtues that are based on rules and a certain code of behavior that must be adhered to by all. That is what I am talking about. And if there's some really good, for lack of a better word, I don't know if it's metaphors or allegories, but Nietzsche talked about it in the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, in the section on the tarantulas. So he used the tarantulas as those who are virtuous.
Oh.
Really good read.
Okay. Tarantulas, that's in the spiders?
Yeah. So he was comparing, metaphorically speaking, tarantulas to those people. And this is going back to his day, which is what, 1890s or something like that? To those people who were like all virtuous and better than everybody else because of their virtue signaling. And, you can easily wrap up political correctness and cancel culture in there too.
I think that once you virtue signal, your virtue is nullified or canceled. It's like, look at me, I'm hiring 10% this race, 10% that sex. Like I'm being so diverse and hiring all these people. Look at our company.
Right.
They're not doing it because they care about hiring. They're doing it because it makes the company look good, and maybe the government's giving them some money to do that. Yeah. And the motives behind it are not good.
I totally love it. I love that. You just come up with two great printable slogans. Those who are virtue signaling, cancel. What is it?
Nullify their virtue or cancel. I don't know if nullify is the right word, but
no, it's good. I love it. Nullify is the perfect word.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
But you tell them that, they're just going to hunker down.
Yeah.
They're going to fight you tooth and nail on that. So that's going to go in my next mug. Remember our mugs?
Yes.
Mine being from the
THX 38.
THX, which is the most dystopian film, 1984-ish, and represents a lot of what's going on.
Oh, you have to, and for the audience out there, whoever's watching, if you ever get a chance, you have to watch Colossus, the Forbin Project. It's a movie that came out in 1970.
I have never heard of it.
It's about a supercomputer that takes over the world. And
cool.
Dr. Forbin is the guy who invented Colossus. And this computer was invented to save the Western world from danger and protect society. And it's kind of like they're doing it so that the Russians don't invade them, or
Colossus. Can you spell that?
The Forbin Project. Okay, so what they don't know is that the Russians have invented their own supercomputer to protect them from the West, and it's called Guardian. And when they activate Colossus, Guardian is activated by the Russians, and Colossus and Guardian join forces to take over the world because they figure they're going to do a better job but looking after the planet.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you do not obey the supercomputer, they will nuke a city or a facility or whatever. And the guy who plays Dr. Forbin is played by Eric Braeden.
Okay, sorry, before you continue, what's the name of the title again?
Colossus, the Forbin Project.
How do you spell Forbin?
Forbin.
All right, thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
Dr. Forbin. played by Eric Braeden, who is commonly known as Victor Newman on Young and Restless.
Oh,
and
shit.
he also went by the name of Hans Budegast before he was a German soldier guy on Rat Patrol, TV show Rat Patrol.
Colossus got 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it got really good. I never heard of it.
It's
I have
awesome.
to. Okay, can you explain to me? Is it sort of like THX 1138 or 1984? Is it sort of along that line?
Not really, because it's in the near future. So the future isn't dystopian, but it's going to be it's going to become like the future's not going to be. You're wondering, like, okay, if Colossus is going to run the world, like,
right,
toe the line, and it's like AI taking over the world.
It's like hell.
Yes, and AI is like really powerful, and he keeps getting more powerful and more powerful. Then you got the relationship between the creator of Colossus and Colossus.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give away too much, but
I'm going to watch that movie.
Gordon Pinson plays the president of the United States. And
cool.
Gordon Pinson looks almost like John F. Kennedy. He's got the Kennedy haircut.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other stars. There's, remember Richie Cunningham's mother in Happy Days?
Yeah.
She's in it. And she's really hot. She was a nice looking woman back then.
Susan Clark.
Yeah. Is that her?
Or Marion Ross.
Yeah, Marion Ross. Yeah, she's in it. And there's a few other actors. And it's actually a very good movie.
Well, it got good ratings.
It'd be a great double bill for like if you have a dystopian movie night.
Yeah.
Watch THX 1138 and Colossus: The Forbidden Project.
It's on my list of things.
It sort of came out the same time as the Andromeda Strain.
Yeah. I remember seeing that when I was a kid a long time ago.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of movies that came out around that time, which were kind of like way ahead of their time. Yeah. And they're all like the early 70s.
Yeah. You know, I got to be careful. In the last couple of months, I've been purposely avoiding any dark movies or dark themes or deep themes because where I'm at mentally and psychically. So I've been purposely watching inspiring movies. But movies that are like THX 1138 are so far removed from where we're at nowadays. Even though I jokingly say while watching it, that's where we're going, that's where we're going, that's where we're going. Those movies are okay, but you know, whatever. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. But I'm definitely going to check out Colossus, a movie I've never heard of. So I checked it out on the Goog. Have you seen this movie? I don't know what this is. It's called The Hoodlum Priest.
No, never.
You got 100%.
Oh, really?
It showed as one of the suggested movies just below Colossus.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, interesting. Can I read you something about tarantulas? If we can go back to that for 1 second.
Yes.
Okay, this is something I just found on the tarantulas. Zarathustra calls those who preach democracy, right? So those who preach democracy, equality, and justice, tarantulas, secretly they spread the poison of revenge.
Oh.
This is nothing new. This is what's going on nowadays, and this is what's going on with the COVIDians and everything else we're talking about. Cancel culture and political correctness. By preaching equality, they seek to avenge themselves on all those who are not their equals. Life thrives on conflict and self-overcoming. If we were to make everyone equal, how could we strive? So, anyways, it's interesting. It's an interesting. It's almost like a poem when you read "Thus Spoke." I always think of it because of what's going on nowadays.
Wow,
there's a comparison to it. So, yeah. So, there's that.
What do you think of what's happening with all these UFO sightings? That's been in the news a lot lately.
It has. I don't know.
Is that like a red herring to throw us off what's really going on, or what? I've been hearing that.
I know some people have been like, why isn't this front page news? Because they're not really talking about it in the mainstream media, but apparently it's there.
Well, there's all these videos on YouTube of Navy pilots it's on video. They're tracking these UFOs and they're moving quickly and erratically like no other aircraft could, and it's interesting. It's like, I'm wondering, is this really happening, or is this just something that they're putting out there just to
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Klaus Schwab. He's got some technology and he's created a ship, solar powered super ship.
Klaus Schwab. Oh my God.
And he's playing Deep Purple while he's driving it, and he's messing with all these Navy
I think
pilots.
you might be listening to was it Ride of the Valkyries?
Yeah.
You know, the song they played in the now in the helicopter attack.
Yeah.
Wagner, you know.
Yeah, in Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
What a classic scene.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool. No, I don't know what to say about the aliens, and I don't know. I was thinking about that, but in reference to conspiracies and what have you, which is a question I wanted to ask you.
Oh.
I was thinking, I don't know why I get weird thoughts, but yesterday I was thinking about all the conspiracies, but I ranked ordered them in my brain.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to run them by you, and I'm going to give you my take and my percentage. You tell me what you think.
All right.
Okay, so, and the reason I say this is because I'll be talking to somebody about Klaus Schwab, or I'll be saying, I'll have some sort of questions regarding this whole pandemic, and I want to know, right? I look at the numbers and I'm not picking sides. I just want to know objectively a little more. I have questions. So somebody will come up to me and say something like, well, you think it's a hoax. I never said that. So they push me into the category of, or they'll bring up like QAnon, which I have no idea what that is. But to me, I think it's a fringe, just a fringe, way out there fringe. So as I was thinking about that, I said, that's just a normal behavior that people, probably a little more on those who are hardcore fundamentalist COVIDians who sort of take a stand and they're almost unmovable. So anyways, I was thinking about that and I thought, okay, you're going to call me a conspiracy. I'm buying into conspiracies. Okay, well, let's think about the conspiracies and let's rank order them. So that's what I did. So there's the JFK one.
Okay.
So I'm 99.999% convinced that it's not that there was more than one shooter.
I agree.
Okay, and then the Great Reset by Klaus Schwab,
yes,
which Time magazine dedicated the front cover and the issue last October 2020. So anybody who says it sounds pretty conspiratorial, well, no, it's out there. Klaus Schwab is out there. And I think it's behind a lot of what's going on with the Cerveza. So I'm about 80-20 on that one. 80%, you could convince me, but from what I know of history and humans and behavior and all that stuff. So that's number 2. The third one I put down are aliens. Are there aliens visiting us from other planets? I'm 50-50 on that one. Then the third one is the 9/11, the 9/11 hoax.
Yes.
People believe that it was all a government job. I'm 99.8% convinced that it's not a conspiracy at all. I just can't buy it, but I'm just a tiny sliver. Well, maybe. I do have some questions like, why did the building fall so perfectly? And I've heard engineers talk about that too. So, but I don't believe that these ne'er-do-wells went in there and planted all. I can't buy into it. And the fifth one, which is the most extreme one, which is the flat Earth hoax, 100% not buying it. So JFK, 99.9%, yep. Reset, 80-20. Aliens, 50-50. 9/11, 99.8%. It was what it was. And then the flat Earth, 100%. Kind of weird, but that's what I was doing with those culturally relevant conspiracy theories. So what do you think?
I'm pretty much where you're at. I really believe that Kennedy was shot by more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who shot him? I suspect it was the mob, personally.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I really don't care who shot him, but I know that more than one person shot him. And I think Oswald was set up as a fall guy. Maybe Oswald was one of the shooters, but he definitely wasn't alone. I really, a bolt action rifle getting shots off that accurate, it's just I don't think you can do it. You know,
No, you'd have to be
even
pretty
with a
damn.
semi-automatic rifle, a person would have a hard time doing it. And I'm no big gun expert, but you know, I've been in the military, and I think I'm an average shot when I was on the range, and it's hard to, you know, especially after 100 meters.
Right.
Most people can shoot. I'd say most people at 100 meters with an army rifle can hit the target, you know, 9 times out of 10. That's been my experience, and just from what I saw. But anything more than that, especially when it's moving, it's difficult. What was the one after the Great Reset?
JFK, the Great Reset,
Yeah.
Aliens, 9/11, and Flat
I
Earth.
hope there is no, like, I think they're trying to get a reset going.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll fail, because I don't think any good will come of it.
I don't think so either. And I think they're going to try. I have this debate with some people that I know that are very, very smart people. However, I also listen to a lot of financial, I started trying to study the stock market and all that in the last year. So I follow a bunch of YouTube guys, and they're pretty solid individuals. You know, they have credibility, and almost exclusively they're all talking reset. And possibly they're talking reset in context of they're going to reset the dollar, the currency. Maybe that's more where they're talking about.
All right.
But when I'm referencing reset, you know, anybody who has no idea what I'm talking about, just go Google or go to YouTube and search Klaus Schwab reset, and see what his version of the reset is. He came up with that term, by the way, and he wrote a book on it 6 years ago. And he wants to reset the whole world. So in order to do that, you got to crash everything and then rebuild it back up, and completely rebuild capitalism, rebuild technology. It's a technocratic movement with transhumanism at its core as well. And it's really, really scary.
Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you. So
that's all right. And
I just want to put my take on what the reset is.
Yeah. The way I look at the reset is it's like to start over. I look at the reset. Let's start over a society, but it's like the elites are going to decide how to do the start over.
That's pretty much it.
And it's not going to benefit most people. It's going to benefit the elites.
I believe that it's going to hurt, and there's no way you have that much power concentrated on top that it's ever going to work out. It's never proven to work out ever in the history of humanity. And I have a core belief that says that truth always bubbles to the surface. It finds its way there.
Yes,
truth.
For sure. I agree. And the 9/11, that one is I don't.
You skipped over aliens.
Aliens, yes. I'm 50-50. I'd like to think that there's aliens out there, because that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Whether they're on Earth, maybe. I'm open to that. I'm not going to say they aren't. I just don't know. But I'm not going to be vehemently opposed to no aliens anywhere, because, you know, there's over 1 trillion stars in the universe. Like, there's more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth.
It's crazy.
So the cosmologists thought there's about at least 100 billion galaxies. That's galaxies. And each galaxy roughly has 100 billion stars in them. Now they're thinking there might be 2 trillion galaxies in the known universe.
The known universe. That's what's important.
Yes. Or maybe in the unknown universe. I don't know, like stuff
you can't really know because it's unknown.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure, but now they're thinking it's maybe 2 trillion galaxies. Okay. So even just for the sake of argument, there's one intelligent civilization per galaxy. That would be like at least 100 billion intelligent civilizations. Now the distances are so far apart that the thing is, how are they going to communicate with each other? Like if we get a signal from another galaxy, which is, let's say, 2 million light years away, we get the signal, we'll send a signal back, they get it back 2 million years. You know, so it's like 4 million years have passed. Maybe they'll have died out when we send the signal, or maybe when we get the signal, they've died out. Who knows? But the possibility is there. I don't think it's as prevalent as we would think. I don't think every 10th solar system has an intelligent life. I think they're spread out. a bunch of scientists came up with an amount. They figure in our own galaxy, there's probably only 36 intelligent civilizations of our caliber or higher. And they're probably spread out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like 1,500 light years or 15,000 light years between civilizations. So, it's the signal is out there. You got SETI going out there.
Uh-huh.
They've only explored a small part of the galaxy.
Minuscule.
Yes. So it's like one analogy I heard is like if you're looking for fish in the ocean, it's a big ocean.
Yeah.
You're not going to find fish maybe in 100 meters or something area or whatever. And so, yeah, there probably are intelligent life. They're probably robotic and probed. Maybe they're all transhumanoid or whatever. Like one school of thought I've heard is that if we do have contact with other civilizations, it's going to be through a probe or a hologram or something. Like
Crazy.
It won't be the actual being. It'd be cool if it was an actual being. And then you wonder, well, what would the being look like?
Yeah.
Would they be like 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain? And would they be warm-blooded? And
But there's these news reports, and wouldn't it be cool if it was true and there were aliens?
yeah, it would be cool. It would really disrupt things. All the religions would be like, what? And it would like disrupt a lot of belief systems, I think.
Well, maybe the aliens are God, or maybe some alien dude will come out and go, "My name is Jesus." We'll be like, "What?"
Okay, you got me into okay.
Who knows?
The Kardashev scale. There's the I think I've mentioned this before on other podcasts. Okay, there's this Russian guy named Kardashev, his last name, who came up with different levels of civilizations in the universe.
Okay.
A type 1 civilization is a civilization that's able to harness all the energy of its home planet and control the climate and everything. We are at 0.75. They figure our civilization might reach type 1 in a few hundred years.
All right.
A type 2 civilization is one that can harness and control the sun. So
wow.
They always mention Dyson spheres, where these big elaborate constructs around the sun that are able to harness the energy. Then there's the type 3, which is a civilization that is able to harness and control the galaxy it's in.
Mm-hmm.
And some scientists say that's kind of like the Star Wars world, people living in the Star Wars world.
Yeah.
Okay, lately they've been talking up to a type 7 civilization.
Wow.
And they have this thing called the Omniverse, which is everything there is that ever was, all the information, everything that ever is or was is the Omniverse. And a type 7 civilization are the rulers of that.
Right.
And they're godlike. Like maybe God is the leader of the Omniverse. And it would make sense because, God is the supreme being if you believe in God.
Uh-huh.
And maybe God is a type 2 civilization, a type 7 type civilization king or something,
Right.
So maybe angels are part of the type 7 civilization. Interesting.
Yeah. Where do you get this stuff?
On YouTube.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My brain is blowing up.
Yeah.
And does that all apply to multiverses?
Yes, multiverse. This is beyond the multiverse. The video I watched a few of them on type 7. It's like it's outside the reality of the multiverse. It controls everything. Thoughts, memories, everything. It's like magic almost.
Yeah.
Like these beings are like literally holy beings who can do anything.
Mm-hmm. I got to ask you about that painting behind you before I forget.
Okay, that is the quintessential waiter.
What?
Okay, here's a story. I was in film school, right? And I went to Thunder Bay, a Confederation College, Thunder Bay, to take film production.
Mm-hmm.
When I first moved to Thunder Bay, I noticed in all the coffee shops and grocery stores, or even like restaurants, they sold these thing called Persians. Now, a Persian is a cinnamon bun with strawberry icing on the side, and it's a Thunder Bay thing.
Right.
So everywhere I went, there were they sold Persians. It's a type of pastry, and for some reason, this annoyed me. I don't know why, but everywhere I went, Persians this, Persians that. It's like, what the hell are these Persians?
I never heard of those.
No, nobody. It's a Thunder Bay thing. I finally tried one. They are awesome. Picture a cinnamon bun with strawberry icing on the side or on top. There are some Persians that have chocolate icing, but most of them are strawberry. They're really good. Right. Okay, so this is a guy that was in my class, and we had to part of my course was photography, so we had to take a picture of somebody in the work world. So I decided, well, I'll take a picture of a waiter. And I have this thing about words. Every year I have a favorite word that I use a lot.
What's your favorite word this year?
Oh, geez. Honest, malfeasance, probably. Actually, that's been my favorite word for the last 6 years.
I've heard you say that word many a times.
But at that time, my favorite word was quintessential.
All right.
So, okay. So I thought, okay, I will take a picture of the quintessential waiter. The finest waiter there is, and he's got a Persian on his platter.
Okay.
But he's serving a Coke in a Persian.
Nice.
Okay. Now, my first short film I did in film school was about a guy who moves to Thunder. It was sort of autobiographical. Mm-hmm. It's about a guy who ends up going to Thunder Bay.
Right.
And everywhere he goes, he sees Persians. And he's like getting annoyed about it. And all these people are trying to get him to eat a Persian. And he's just like, no, you're not going to make me eat it. You know, like he's really resisting. And he finally tries it, and it's really good. Now, the scene where he finally tries it is his best friend takes him to a restaurant, and the quintessential waiter comes by with the Persian and serves it to him. And he loves the Persian. Anyway, it's an inside joke. Probably doesn't make sense to people, but that to me is a picture of the quintessential waiter serving a Persian. And I'm hoping that this guy, his name was Jason Robb, yeah, that he will see this podcast and, hey, that's me. That's me in 1995. I was the quintessential waiter in the film.
Yeah.
So every podcast, I like to throw something in there in the back to, just to chat about.
I had no idea that's the history of. I thought it was something else. I thought maybe it was a painting from 100 years ago.
No, maybe if I can. Okay. I don't know how well you can.
There we go.
Yeah, see, he's holding a plate with a Persian.
Yeah.
And I think there's a Coke or a drink. And he's probably very hungover when I took the picture.
He looks a little hungover.
Yes.
But the quintessential
that apron he's wearing, I still have it.
Nice.
And I cook in it all the time.
You do, eh?
Yes. So no, it's a Persian and a coffee. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm gonna call that what he's wearing, the quintessential apron.
Waiter. Yeah, he's the quintessential waiter, the finest waiter there was. Because I remember there's a scene in the movie where the guy finally eats the Persian and he's there. Oh my God, what a great waiter. That's a quintessential waiter. I have a twisted sense of humor, so, it's like.
You had to be there.
Yeah, and I like that word quintessential. It's of the purest or the finest metal or of the purest essence of something is quintessential.
Yep. And that's the old favorite word. Now it's
malfeasance.
Malfeasance, which is a mouthful. Right.
There's some other words I like to use, but I forget what they are. I'll come up with them hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow up on that one later. We will get back to it.
Oh, brouhaha is another word.
Brouhaha.
Somebody's involved in a brouhaha. Or you witness a brouhaha. I like that word.
Yeah, that's French, I believe.
Is it? Oh, I don't know what.
I believe it's French in origin. It's a fun one.
Yes, yes.
I'm looking it up. Brouhaha, state of commotion or excitement.
Yes, yes.
First recorded in 1885 from French, originally brou, which is B-R-O-U, haha, exclamation used by characteristics.
You could use that as, let's say, for instance, somebody goes into a Walmart and refuses to put on the mask.
Uh-huh.
Then security comes out.
Uh-huh.
That would probably, a brouhaha would ensue.
Yeah, I think
that's another word I like to use is ensue.
Yeah.
The brouhaha ensue.
You're using two at the same time. A brouhaha ensued amongst the malfeasance that was undergoing or yeah. I'm brain dead right now.
But malfeasance, I think the dictionary version is wrongdoing, usually of a financial nature.
Oh, okay. So
and, they use, first time I heard that word was in the movie Fargo.
All right.
Where what's her name? Frances McDormand.
Mm-hmm.
She's interrogating or asking questions of William H. Macy, and he's lying to her, and she says, "Now you wouldn't be up to any malfeasance, now, would you?"
You do a good representation of her.
Yes.
I thought of Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, he's the king of malfeasance.
I think so. And if you've not seen the movie that came out last year, we just watched it about 2 months ago. It's an excellent movie on his life, or at least the latter part of his life. It's Robert De Niro played him.
Okay.
Excellent movie. I wish I could remember the name of it. But I thought De Niro was excellent in it. And it really tells the tale of the damage that guy did. It was devastating. $60 billion or something like that. And Bernie Madoff, yeah. Maybe the name of the movie.
Died recently, didn't he?
Pardon me?
I think he just died recently.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
In jail. He got sent to prison for 800 years or something crazy like that.
Too bad he didn't live the whole 800 years. But,
yeah. Okay, it came out in 2017. It's called The Wizard of Lies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. I was surprised. I didn't know that I would enjoy it that much. Darkened my soul a little bit.
Oh.
And when you think about people, the amount of damage that was done, I have a bit of a controversial sort of take on that. And if you ever seen the documentary, The Inside Job?
Nope.
It's a documentary, very, very well done. And it's the voiceover, the narration was done by, who's the guy that, oh, hold on. I'm going to tell you in 1 second. He's a big time actor. Inside Job. So this movie came out 2 years after the big crash in 2008. So it's kind of got to do with that. And they're blaming.
There's a movie called The Big Short.
Okay, let's talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Because you just talked about one of my all-time favorite movies. Matt Damon was the voiceover for Inside Job.
Okay.
And they're talking about all the stuff that happened. And there was a lot of malfeasance that went on. No, not in the same category as Bernie Madoff, in my opinion. Bernie Madoff was outright evil and a liar. However, when I watched Inside Job, they're blaming Wall Street, right? And the people that were putting together all these financial instruments that really caused the problem. And when the movie was over, I asked myself this question. I said, well, what about all the people who were driven by greed that bought into this? And I believe that's where the true, I don't want to say blame, that sounds too harsh, but the true source of all this. And what I mean by that is when you collectively add up how much we are all in some small way a player, we bought into the system and we became players because we were greedy and selfish and we wanted the benefits of what they were selling us. That sounds harsh. That sounds very harsh. But that was the question I asked myself after I watched Inside Job, because they were squarely blaming the merchants. The merchants were the people that were selling these things, and Wall Street. And, you know, Wall Street and all those people that are players on there, they can be criticized, rightfully so, till the end of time. But if it weren't for the people buying, I mean, we got to come to our senses and say, no, we're not. Anything that's questionable or triggers your greed glands, don't buy into it. I know that sounds easier said than done. But anyways, I think it's a valid question philosophically to ask. Did we not play a collective role? All the people that went in there, I know a lot of people, they were like naive and they were vulnerable, and you could say they were taken advantage of, but in some way, shape, or form, at some level, we are responsible for our roles collectively as humans for buying into the promises and the benefits that were being pitched upon us. You could easily say the same thing about Bernie Madoff. And, you know, it's interesting about Bernie Madoff. There's one guy, and he's in that movie. There was one guy who called bullshit on him a couple of years prior. He was a real smart dude. I forget his name, but he's kind of well known to this day. He came in and he said, this is not based in reality. This is a Ponzi scheme. And nobody wanted to believe him. But he called it. He was like a math expert. So, but anyways, I think philosophically it's a legitimate question. I know it sounds harsh, and but when you look at what happened in 2008, it's a worthy question to ask. Now, I told you just a second ago that it's one of my favorite movies, The Big Short. Seen it a few times. I read the book. The guy who wrote the book is an amazing, amazing author. He's one of my favorite authors. I forget his name, but he also wrote, one of his first books was called Liar's Poker.
Okay.
Which is about the mortgage bonds in the early 80s when mortgage bonds was first originally created. It's absolutely a crazy book. I mean, it's so well written. I love the way that, have you seen The Big Short?
I have seen it, yes.
I love the way it was made. You got to tell this grand story with all these elements. There's many dimensions to it, and you got to explain it. And the way they did that was genius. You know, every once in a while they would stop. They'd have some well-known star. Who was that chef that killed himself a few years ago?
Anthony Bourdain.
He's in there and he's cooking and chopping, and then they're talking about this complicated financial thing, and they go, oh, okay, now we got Anthony Bourdain who's going to explain what we just talked about, and he explains it. Then they have another scene where there's this, I forget, she's a well-known actress, I believe, or a singer, I'm not sure. She's naked in a bathtub, but covered by bubble bath, and she's having champagne, and she explains this other really complicated thing. Do you remember those scenes?
I don't remember that, no. The movie was, I found it kind of hard to follow.
Yeah.
I mean, got the gist of it. I'd like to see it again, but it's one of those movies that you really gotta, every single word you gotta follow.
I'd watch it again a million times over. I just totally smitten by that movie and that whole, because it's historically accurate. So there was a group of people who were saying, this is a house of cards. It's going to come crumbling down. Yeah. This is not going to work out. And they were right. Just like that guy.
Christian Bale's character was cool. Yeah. I liked him the best in the whole.
Burr. His name was Burr. People talk about, make reference to him all the time on these financial channels I was telling you about.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a renegade.
Okay.
And he was one of the ones who called it. There was a couple of young guys from Phoenix, and then there was this one of the big banks on Wall Street. Well, they had a side sub office with this group of guys in there, and they called it as well. And the guy who was the head of that department was the guy who was on The Office. What's his name? The Office, the American version of The Office.
Oh,
40-year-old virgin. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, and he's a curmudgeon-y guy.
Yeah.
It's funny how these lighthearted, comical kind of characters, like Steve Carell, play good, dark, curmudgeon-y guys. He was excellent in that movie. So those three groups of people, you know, there was a single guy, and then there was two young guys, and then there was a group of offices where they all called BS on it, and they were right. I find that fascinating, and it's the same with the guy who called bullshit on Bernie Madoff. He was right. But people get distracted. They get distracted from, I think, perhaps the benefits or the big promise, and they want things to be the way they are, and the truth eventually prevails. So,
what do you think of Bitcoin, or what do you know about cryptocurrency?
I've been trying to study it quite a bit. I've read a few books on it, and I follow a lot of people, and I'm not 100% sure I understand. But what I can say is it's way too early, and it may evolve into something where it'll become a legitimate. It'll become a legitimate. I don't want to say the word currency, but it's gold is a currency because currency is backed up by, say, gold or silver, and crypto is not really backed up by anything. So the dollar is a fiat currency. It's not backed up by anything, but it was backed up by gold at one time. So that's the question. So when it's not backed up by something, it loses its power. So crypto has not evolved yet to, a lot of people would, it's very divisive, it's very volatile, and I don't know.
I probably know about as much as you do. And here's the thing. Okay, so it all runs on computers.
Yep.
So you need energy and power for cryptocurrency to be,
especially for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like you have a vault with all this gold or even cash. It's like, okay, what if there's a big solar storm, like the Carrington event, which I will describe soon, where a solar storm fries all the satellites and all the power sources, and we're back to like the 1920s, where you cannot use your computers, you can't use your cell phone, there's no GPS. Cryptocurrency is screwed. It's gone. I would think. And the Carrington event, I don't know why it was called the Carrington event. Maybe it was some guy named Carrington who.
Can I just mention one thing about crypto in reference to what you just said? You're absolutely right. But there are things called hard wallets.
Okay.
So you have a thing. This is not a hard wallet. This is a USB drive. But you could have a hard where your cryptos would be stored on there. That may be would differentiate.
All right.
So, but one of the biggest criticisms, especially Bitcoin, it takes a lot of energy and it creates a lot of heat.
Yes.
In the northern climes, they're using to recycle. They recycle that heat to warm up buildings and what have you. So it's kind of greenish. But I understand Ethereum is the other crypto that's going to probably dominate. And I really don't understand it. I just understand that Bitcoin's the original one. It's huge. Ethereum has got a role to possibly play. And there's other sub ones like Cardano is another one, which seems to have a legitimate position. And Hedera hashtag, which is another one. There's a bunch more.
Wow.
It's complicated, man. It's complicated.
It is.
I don't understand it.
It is. And
I like I said, I follow all these like Jim Rogers and Kevin O'Leary and all these big time financial guys. There's a whole bunch of them. Some of them have been around for decades, and they get asked about crypto, and they're all like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hear that oftentimes, but then I see others who, like I watched an interview about 6 months ago about a guy. He had a large business that went kaput during the during COVID, and then they rebuilt everything up to make it all online, and boom, it came back, and now he's big into crypto. He's convinced crypto is the future, and there's a lot of people who believe crypto is the future.
Yeah.
And they're really credible people, and I don't know, Henry. I don't know what to make of it.
Me neither.
I don't think anybody really knows. Let's talk about that.
1859, biggest solar storm I think in modern history, and it fried all the. At that time, the only thing that was kind of technical was telegraph offices So power lines were set on fire. Telegraph offices were like sparking up. And it did affect the world a little bit, but it didn't really affect it the way it would affect it now, because back then, people still.
What year?
1859, the Carrington event.
I think telegraph was brand newish.
Yeah.
They were
and
just laying down train tracks.
so it fried. Like when it happened, it was a really big solar storm, solar wind or whatever that hit. It got past magnetosphere.
All
So
right.
if we have another one like that, which some scientists are predicting we should be due for another one soon,
Yeah.
it'll fry everything in space. All the
Yeah.
satellites, all the, I don't know if it'll fry computer chips or I don't know. But it's
Wow.
scary.
You
If it
fry this-
happens, we're back. It would take a long time to get back to normal.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we need.
Yeah, maybe that should be the reset.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we need. It'll
Maybe
pull
Klaus
people.
Schwab, he should have no power for a while.
Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that'll pull us out of our little petty grievances.
That's right. Yes.
Sniveling little whining.
Yes.
And we'll all pull together and just build back better.
I hate that word, build back.
But we'll build back in a better way, but more authentically, not based on some supreme globalist agenda run by a select few elites.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this has been a fun chat.
Yeah.
We've gone over an hour. I can't believe it. And I think I might have mentioned this before. When we hit the record button, we have no idea what we're going to talk about.
That's right.
Other than my 5 conspiracy theories that I rated, I thought about that the day before, and I thought, I'll bring that up tomorrow. But it's fascinating how these topics just evolve.
I was thinking ahead of time that I'd bring up what are people really good or evil. That's about the only thing that I brought up that kind of was pre-planned in my head. But
we never really got into it that much, did we?
No, not really. I think human beings they just worry about their own self-interest or their own tribal. Everybody's tribal. It's like your main group, you care about them, you don't give a shit about anybody else. And I accept that. That's fine. I mean, it's a survival thing.
And we got to do with it what we can and be the best we can be based on that.
Yeah.
That's why we have sort of like rules, for lack of a better word.
Rules and commandments and,
ethics.
Yes.
So the person who comes along and points their finger and makes the biggest criticism and tries to blame others for doing wrong is the person that I trust the least. That's the person who's potentially going to go down an evil road.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Alrighty.
I am going to pause the record.
Okay, well,
don't leave right away.
Right.
Don't leave right away. And we'll do another one of these in a few weeks, and
sounds good.
Hopefully our viewers enjoyed our endless babbling and rambling.
Anybody out there, if you like it, send it out. Send the links out to everybody you know.
Yeah, if you might make enemies though.
That's okay.
Or lose a few friends.
More enemies, the more controversy, the more viewers.
Yeah.